The hallway was buzzing with noise as students rushed between classes. Lockers slammed, sneakers squeaked against the floor, and laughter echoed down the long corridor. For most kids, it was just another Monday morning. But for Ava Thompson, it was her very first day at Ridgeway High School. She walked quickly, head slightly lowered, clutching her books to her chest. She didn't know anyone here, and she could already feel the eyes on her. The curious stares, the whispered comments. Ava had moved to the city only a week ago. Her father's new job had forced them to leave the small town where she grew up. Back home, she'd been surrounded by friends who knew her quiet personality and respected her boundaries. Here she was just the new girl, an easy target for gossip. What no one knew was that Ava had spent years training in martial arts, not to show off, but to protect herself and others. As she made her way to her locker, 3 girls leaned casually against the wall nearby, watching her with predatory grins. Madison, their leader, was the kind of person who loved being in control. Her friends, Brianna and Kayla, followed her lead in everything. The 3 whispered to each other, laughing under their breath as Ava passed. She tried to ignore them, focusing on her locker combination. Then, in one sudden movement, Madison stepped forward, grabbed the hem of Ava's skirt, and yanked it down in one swift pull. A loud gasp rippled through the hallway as several students turned to watch. Brianna and Kayla burst into laughter. Madison smirked, clearly expecting Ava to cry panic or run away in humiliation. For a split second, Ava froze. Her face flushed, but not from embarrassment, from anger. The years of self-defense lessons echoed in her mind. Her instructor's voice rang clear, "Stay calm. Breathe. Choose your response." She pulled her skirt back up with steady hands, then looked Madison straight in the eye. "Is that the best you can do?" Ava's voice was calm, but carried enough weight to make a few nearby students quiet down. Madison's smirk faltered just a little. Before Madison could react, Ava stepped forward and gently, but firmly, pushed her back against the lockers. The movement wasn't violent. It was controlled, precise. She leaned in slightly, her voice low enough for only Madison to hear. "If you ever try to humiliate me again, you'll regret it. Not because I'll hurt you, but because you'll have to face exactly who you really are in front of everyone here." Brianna and Kayla's laughter died instantly. The surrounding students, sensing the tension, whispered quietly. Madison, for once, didn't have a comeback. She stood frozen, blinking in shock. Ava didn't wait for a response. She picked up her books, turned, and walked toward her classroom with steady, confident steps. The rest of the day, the atmosphere around Ava shifted. Some students looked at her with newfound respect. Others whispered about what had happened in the hallway. Madison avoided her entirely, which was a first for anyone who had ever been targeted by her. Over the next few weeks, Ava continued to carry herself with quiet confidence. She never bragged about the incident, never retold the story. But when she saw other students being teased or cornered, she stepped in, sometimes with a word, sometimes with just her presence. Slowly, the bullying culture in the hallways began to fade. One afternoon, as Ava was packing up her bag, Madison approached her. Her voice was hesitant.
"Hey, about the other day, I was wrong. I'm sorry."
Ava looked at her for a moment, then nodded. Apology accepted. Just don't let it happen to anyone else. From that day on, Madison kept her distance from trouble, and Ava became known not just as the new girl, but as the girl who stood her ground and taught the school that courage isn't about fighting, it's about refusing to be broken. By the end of the semester, Ava had more friends than she ever expected. She had carved out her place at Ridgeway High, not by changing who she was, but by standing firmly in it. And her quiet strength left a mark on everyone who had witnessed that one moment in the hallway. A moment when the expected victim became the one everyone respected. The hallway buzzed like a hive. Lockers slammed shut, sneakers squeaked across the polished tiles, and shouts of laughter bounced off the walls. For most students at Ridgeway High, it was just another Monday morning. For Ava Thompson, it was a day she had dreaded for a week. Her first day at a new school. She clutched her books tightly to her chest, her knuckles pale. She had moved here because her father had been transferred for work, dragging their small family from a quiet rural town to the heart of the city. Ava had always been shy, not because she lacked courage, but because she didn't like the spotlight. Back in her hometown, people knew her as the polite, soft-spoken girl who always helped others. But no one here knew her. She wore a simple navy skirt and a cream sweater. Nothing flashy but neat. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail, and she kept her head slightly down as she walked. She could feel the weight of curious eyes on her. Some students just stared, others whispered to friends. Ava had been through enough to know that new schools could be cruel. What they didn't know was that she was far from defenseless. At the age of 8, she had begged her parents to let her take martial arts after an older cousin was bullied at school. Years of training in judo and karate had taught her discipline, control, and, most importantly, the difference between strength and aggression. She never boasted about it. Her skills weren't for show. They were for when they were truly needed.